This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred down here in Liverpool with me, promoter Eddie Hearn, back from his US venture. How are you, Eddie?
Feeling good, mate. I mean, a bit warmer in Vegas, but good to be in Liverpool and Manchester next week. Two big shows to end an incredible run. Also, four shows in the next 2 weeks, of course, with Bivol this week in Russia as well, and Uzbekistan next week. So the tank, surprisingly, is still full, but looking to close out the year in style.
Let's talk about then Benn Algieri. We'll start there. We're kind of hoping Samuel Vargas would be the man to test Conor Benn. Then we were hoping Adrien Broner would be, and he didn't play ball. Is Chris Algieri the man to test Conor Benn?
I think it's a really tough fight. I think I saw Chris Algieri at the Cambo's fight, who always looks tremendously well, doesn't he? Very similar to you and me, in a pair of shorts. And I said, "You look good." I said, "I'm worried." He said, "You should be." They really fancy this fight. Others have fancied it as well. I think the danger for Conor Benn is just to get schooled a little bit by Chris Algieri. You know, he's fought at an extremely high level, but he's very technically sound. He's tough and he moves well. I don't think he'll box the way Granados did, which was literally run the whole fight, but I think he will be smart in there. And I think Conor's just got to be careful, as sometimes he always is, to just not get carried away. 12-round fight, stay nice and calm. It's going to be a mad atmosphere in there. Just relax and and get the job done. And I think this is the perfect fight, the perfect time for Conor Benn. I know we're all talking about Broner and Porter and whoever these people in, but you have to go through the levels. And I think this is a good fight. I actually think that the weight will help Algieri. I think at 140 he's a skeleton, and I told him that before. He looks so fit and healthy at the weight this week, and I think it's going to be a really tough fight.
I was there the day that you announced Conor Benn as a sign-in, and obviously Nigel was down there, and even in the early parts of his career, he wasn't really given a chance by many people after watching him fight. Have you even been a little bit surprised by just how well he has developed?
Massively surprised. I was watching him at the workout last night, and everything, I mean, he's probably the most improved fighter in British boxing, maybe even world boxing, because go and watch his early fights back. I mean, I wasn't sure that he would go on and fight at British level, let alone world level. And this all comes down to just time in the gym, great training from Tony Sims, but hard work and a good work ethic, because that's what Conor Benn's done. He's stayed in the gym, he's lived a life, and he now sits top 5 in the WBC, top 10 with all the other governing bodies. He's right there, but he's still got a long way to go. We live and breathe on hype, but I also am pretty good at judging where fighters are at. And when you talk about the young guns in the division, of which there are really two, in Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis, Conor's 2 or 3 fights away from fighting those guys yet. Those guys are ready to win world titles now. Conor, I believe, will be a world champion, but this is the perfect step for him on Saturday.
If Conor Benn comes through this on Saturday, we've seen Adrien Broner's sort of comments and saying he's going to have to give you a call and things like that. How big a fight is Benn Broner going at next year, potentially Vegas? Really big.
I spoke to Adrien the other day. He's obviously looking at his options, and I'd love to work with him as well. I think he's still a big name. I think he's highly controversial, and I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. It's a very dangerous fight, Adrien Broner, because it depends on the Broner that you get. I remember watching Broner at 135 when he beat Gavin Rees in Atlantic City. I thought this was one of the best fighters I've ever watched live. But if he's dedicated, that's a really tough fight. If he's not, it could be great matchmaking. So, Benn Broner's a fight that I've looked at for a long time. It's the kind of fight I'd want him to take next. If he comes through on Saturday, I reckon he's going to be out in sort of March or April, and a Broner would be a great option for him next.
Katie Taylor back in action, facing Sharapova this weekend. I was talking to her yesterday. She said the Serrano fight has to be next. How close is that if she does indeed win on Saturday? Really close.
Most valuable promotions, Jake Paul's guys, they really want to make the fight. I think they want to make the fight. They want to be the heroes. They want to be the ones who say we're putting on with Matchroom the biggest fight in world boxing, and we're getting these 2 girls of fortune, and that's a great look for him and his promotional company, and it's right. All of those things. I'm very confident that will get made. I think this is a tough fight on Saturday. I think this is a banana skin, because I can't really make Sharapova out. She's the mandatory challenger. She's come with a team of about 30 people from Kazakhstan. she's got all these followers on social media. She's got like government backing. I'm a bit concerned that she's actually really good. WBA mandatory, and we'll see. Going to be tough, and it's always the fight before the fight that is sometimes the most nerve-wracking, you know. And this is the one because she gets through on Saturday night, and Amanda Serrano's next.
On the rest of the bill, speaking of Hank Lundy yesterday, he was very, very colourful and very sure he's going to win that fight. Is that the sleeper of the bill?
It's a great fight, Hank Lundy against Robbie Davis Jr. Of course, look, we're in Liverpool, so Hank Lundy there coming into the Lions Den, if you like. Massive opportunity for Robbie Davis Jr., who, you know, after a fight of the year with Lewis Ritson, got beat against Valenzuela in a fight that really affected his career, come back with an easy win. Now this is absolute judgment day for Robbie Davis Jr. With Shane McGuigan, he's got every chance to go out and win a title in a big fight in his backyard. But Hank Lundy, when I put this fight to him, he went away and he come straight back. He said, easy fight for me. And listen, Hank Lundy's not the fighter he was, but he's still a very, very good fighter. He's always in shape, and he thinks that he's going to beat Robbie Davis on Saturday night. It's a really good fight.
Joe Cordina in action. Obviously, you've signed a Gower, so there is an option there. I know Zelfa Barrett's got an eliminator as well. Who would be at the front of that queue if they both win?
It's a good question. I mean, I think Zelfa's got the tougher fight of the two. Joe's fighting an unbeaten guy, but I expect him to win and look good. I don't know. Whoever's really ready for that fight and how they come through those fights. We're going to be saying to a Gower would like to have a defence in Japan. Obviously, we'd like to bring him to the UK for one of those fights. If that's in Cardiff or if that's in Manchester, certainly we would be looking to make a Gower against a Brit as soon as possible for that IBF world title.
Any big news for the heavyweight division? FURY-WHYTE, the ongoing saga. The WBC have finally instilled Dillian Whyte as mandatory. Have you spoken to him since?
Yeah, I spoke to his team. I mean, it's about time, you know, and it's good news. And, you know, there's a few things that are still to be determined, particularly the split. Now, I said to Maurizio at the weekend in Las Vegas, I feel like the split should be announced as part of the negotiations because you don't really know what you're negotiating. And it will be part of the ongoing arbitration process or negotiations with the WBC across the legal case to make sure that Dillian Whyte gets what he deserves in terms of that split. So we'll wait to see what that is. But very difficult to negotiate the fight until you really know that. And you'll know that when purse bids are ordered. You know, and when they're ordered, you can still do a deal. But of course, you know, if we think the split should be 55-45 and Top Rank think the split should be 80-20, we're just not going to reach a deal. So we'll see how it plays out. Of course, we would like to stage that fight. You know, we've got significant funds to do so. Top Rank will be making Dillian Whyte offers. So we'll all sit down and decide which way we're going to go. But not looking to be difficult. Just looking to make the fight.
All these things to iron out within 30 days, are you pretty sure this is going to go to purse bids?
Generally, what happens in this kind of situation is you get absolutely nowhere, and then on the week of purse bid, you start to, you know, get people get a bit squeaky bums and start to move on their offers and stuff like that. So I'm not, you know, I think there's a good chance that a deal will be reached, but at the same time, it's going to have to be a deal that does Dillian Whyte justice, and obviously he's going to have to be more than we're prepared to bid for Dillian, you know, in Dillian Whyte's case. So he's in a great position.
You said it there. There's going to be a lot of people putting their cards on the table for this fight. If you do land the rights for that, though, we've talked about the possibility of DAZN pay-per-view in the past. Is that the kind of fight to launch that? Absolutely,
yeah. In the UK, that would be a DAZN pay-per-view. It's having that in place, which we talked about, having the functionality to do those kind of fights. They're one-off fights to bring a fighter to the platform that's not part of the platform, like a Tyson Fury. And it'll be a DAZN decision, but in my opinion, I believe that would be a pay-per-view fight.
Tyson Fury's been quite vocal the last few weeks about wanting Anthony Joshua to step aside, and you've been getting asked a lot about it. Does the Fury-White order kind of put to rest any talk of him stepping aside from Alexander Usyk?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help, because obviously Dillian Whyte would have to be compensated, or there'd have to be an issue in that situation. So it's okay, because it was never something we were asking for. It was stuff that was being asked of us, and we were happy to explore it, happy to sit down and talk about it without Anthony till we got to a stage where it was worth bringing him in. But it certainly focuses the mind more on an Alexander Usyk rematch.
Is there anything you can tell us about that? I know there's been all kind of things about step aside and stuff talked about, but have you started getting down to the nitty gritty of making that fight?
Not really. I mean, you know, I've been talking to Alex Krasik a lot. about the whole landscape and the situation. They've obviously had approaches as well about doing the Fury fight, which again now looks unlikely. So now we'll focus the mind before Christmas and start looking at potential dates and venues.
You said Dillian Whyte's in a great position here. Another fighter who's in a great position is George Cambo. So he's got nearly all of the belts. He's a free agent. He can explore his options. How confident are you that it will be Devin Haney next, though?
Well, I spoke to the WBO yesterday, and they said that it's likely that the Lomachenko Commie winner will be the mandatory. So you've got a very limited time to make an historic fight for all the belts in the Devin Haney fight, and I think that's what Kambosos will want to do. I'm sure he'll speak to Peter Khan, Lou DiBella, and look at his options, but I think you've got an opportunity there to do a historic event in Australia. Devin Haney will travel. It's the real undisputed. Why not get it made? And Kambosos has done such an amazing job since that victory. He's been literally everywhere. Great people. Him, his dad Jim, top people. And I think he's all about the big fights, the legacy fights, historic fights. And that is Devin Haney in Australia. So hopefully we can move at pace before a Lomachenko fight gets ordered, which is not as big a fight and doesn't give him the opportunity to say, yes, I am officially undisputed.
We've seen you kind of jockeying for position, ready to launch Matchroom Australia. You've been signing a lot of Australian fighters. Is this just the perfect opportunity now to make that move?
Certainly. I mean, it was never part of the strategy or thought process that we would go to Australia and do Kambosos Haney for the undisputed, but it's landed on the lap, and it would be massive for us as a business. I mean, we've got Brock Jarvis, we've got Dempsey McKean, we've got Ebony Bridges, we've got, hopefully we land a Sky Nicholson and other fighters like this, and there's other fighters that we're discussing as well. So Australia pre-Kambosos was very important to us, but obviously now if we can move into that market with one of the biggest Australian fights of all time, that would be a great way to start.
One more thing I wanted to get your thoughts on before I let you go, Eddie. Tommy Fury, Jake Paul off. Tommy Fury saying he's had a chest infection, got a rib injury. Jake Paul says he doesn't believe him. What do you make of it?
I mean, look, I think it would be quite a wild accusation to think that Tommy Fury has bottled the fight with Jake Paul. So I tend to believe him. It's just that, it's always these interviews where you got Tyson saying he'd go and fight him with one leg and stuff like this that makes it awkward. And Jake Paul's the kind of guy that's going to prey on those kind of statements and that kind of weakness. So it's going to be a rough few months for Mr. Tommy Fury. But listen, I think he's fighting Tyrone Woodley now, isn't he? So one thing I say about that is, well done for moving at pace. That's a guy who thinks on his feet. I got asked the question, what do I think of Jake Paul? I said, sometimes annoying, often amusing, but smart. And they've obviously got the news about Tommy Fury. In that kind of situation, they would always hear a day or two before we hear, or you hear, or whoever hears. So he's thought on his feet, he's adapted, he's come out with a good opponent. It's not as big a fight, obviously, but I think he'll probably just block out Tommy Fury now, and I think he'll ice him out and say, you had your chance, mate, and move on, but we'll see.
You've done business with him, you've had him on one of your cards fighting, you're now working with his team on this Taylor Serrano fight. What's he like to do business with?
He's all right. I mean, he's got an ego, so have a lot of people, me included. His one's a little bit wilder, but he's very smart. He has a huge profile, brings a lot to the table, and I think he gets it. And when we talk about the Taylor Serrano fight, that is for him a chance to say, I'm making moves in boxing. Look at what I've done. I've come into boxing. I've made the biggest fight in female boxing. So I like what he's doing, and I don't see a downside to Jake Paul in the boxing game.
Eddie Hearn, thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.